Panel of graduates. So let's just get started. My name is Sophie. I am the CEO of College Contact. I graduated from the University of Virginia. So if any students here are interested in UVA, let me know, put in the chat. I have been a college admissions counselor for the last 5 years. I've read thousands and thousands of college admissions essays, helped hundreds, if not hundreds, yeah, hundreds of students myself. I don't know what number I was going for there. And it's been a pleasure. We started the company actually in my dorm room in 2020. And we have seen tremendous success from our model. So I'm going to walk you through that really briefly. Again, kind of silly. The company started from a TikTok video. We had thousands of high schoolers reach out to us looking for another way of getting college advising help. There was a big influx of high schoolers who came to us and said, you know what? I don't have help in my high school. Private college counseling might be too expensive, or they're just not really helping me, or I don't feel like they really know the school. And so we built a model where we actually recruit undergraduate students at schools across the country. We upskill them, we train them in our method that has been working tremendously well. And we match high school students to these college undergraduates to help the high schooler create and craft the perfect application for that particular school or for the schools on their college list. So it works really simply. You fill out a little quiz, you get matched to a mentor on the platform. 3 of our mentors are here today, and you'll get to speak with them. And we help with everything from essays, scholarships, applying for financial aid, building a college list, planning your activities section, and more. And how is it going? Well, we've helped at this point over 5,000 students get into college. This map is actually outdated now. It's from a year ago. We need to update it, but you can see some of the schools our students are getting accepted into and enrolling in. Every single one of the students we've worked with has gotten accepted into college, and close to 90% gets into their number one choice. A lot of this has to do with our essay writing method and how we help students craft their own personal story, tailored to that university or tailored to the universities on their list. With that being said, I'll close out with a little bit more information on, if you're interested, how you can get help from us. But I want to actually introduce our undergraduate panelists. So these students have been selected out of hundreds of thousands of applications we've received. We have a really low acceptance rate to become a mentor on the platform. They've gone through a full certification process. These are the cream of the cream at their schools, and they're really excited to talk to you today about a topic that you all are familiar with. They too are studying research at their respective universities, and so we will ask them some questions about what that looks like, and then also how they leverage that in their admissions process. So I'm going to start it off with Jimmy.
Hello, my name is Jimmy. I'm from Queens, New York. I'm currently a sophomore at Boston University studying biomedical engineering. And so the current research project that I'm working on focuses on CRISPR technology within oncology. And so I look at a lot of different cell therapy methods.
Great. Okay, Vidya.
Yes, hi. My name is Vidya. I'm currently a sophomore at the University of South Carolina, and my major is political science, and I'm on a pre-law track. So currently I'm doing research that's looking into judicial politics and the behavior of different justices on the Supreme Court and what exactly influences their decisions.
Awesome.
And my hometown is Greenville, South Carolina.
Great. Thanks. Nick.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nick. I'm from Framingham, Massachusetts, which is right outside Boston. Currently, I'm a public health major, also on the pre-med track. And currently, I'm engaged in phage research and genomic sequencing. So then researchers can use our new discovered phages and genomes to then work on cures for things like cancer.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. We're gonna come to you in a quick second. Just a few things before we pass it to our panelists. A few things from me on my end. I am not someone who studied research. I actually studied business. But I do want you all to know that this internship, this research project that either your students, I saw a lot of parents in here, or if you're a student in here that you're conducting with Lumiere, it is a great way to showcase how you're creating this passion and then executing it, which kind of creates this mentality for admissions officers that you are a self-starter. And that trait we are seeing, and I know they're all going to agree with me on this, is one of the number one traits admissions officers are looking for these days. Do you have something you care about? But more than that, are you going to do something about what you care about? Are you going to execute? Are you going to discover that? Are you going to go through an uncovery process of why am I curious about this? Why am I passionate about this topic? This is where we see like the birth of self-starters, entrepreneurs, creators, makers, researchers, etc. And so this is a great, this will be great for all of your college admissions when you end up applying. A few quick tips from our end. Definitely make sure that when you're filling out your activity section on your Common App that this is listed in one of the top 3. The rankings in your activities list do matter. So, you know, what you put number 1 should be the most prestigious activity that you've done, the first one that you want them to read. So we're not aware of the other activities your students or you might be doing, but we would recommend that it be in the top 3. Make sure you also have a total of 10 activities. So this is a great one. Make sure you have 9 others. This is across their entire high school, so I'm sure they have 10. Not to worry there. And if you can, try and throw in a few other categories. So if you're doing this research project, try and throw in a sport or something active, some volunteering, some just to round out your application. And then one last tip before I turn it over. We've gotten a lot of questions from students that are pursuing internships or research papers like this, and a lot of them want to center their personal statement essay on this topic or this activity that they've done. Just want to highlight when you're structuring this essay, and we do a ton of other webinars on this, and we're happy to go more in depth because it's going to be a little confusing most likely. But when you write a research paper, like you all are doing, most of those are structured what you'll see on the left side of the screen. So we call this the triangle method. This is how academic papers are written. This is how research papers are written. This is how most papers at a college level and then high school level are written, where you start with a thesis, a theory, a hypothesis. You use the body of the essay to narrate, you know, all of the pieces that you believe support or don't support your thesis, and then you kind of have the conclusion at the end, wrapping everything up. Your college admissions essay should be structured slightly differently than that. We don't want to give them the answer right away and then go through a process of discovery. We want to think of this more like a movie plot, right? Something that's engaging. We want to have a hook, some body paragraphs that we're a little confused, we're looking for the answer, and then at the end we realize kind of what the student wanted us to know. So this is an important note for you all. Since you're spending a lot of time writing research reports, I wanted to throw this in here. For your college essay, it's going to be slightly different model, just flip it on its head. Okay, let's go to this. Okay, let's go to our Q&A section. So I'm going to take us off and ask the mentors a few questions, and then we will pass the Q&A back to the audience. So the first question I'm going to ask our panel is, why did you choose your major? And any one of you 3 can respond.
So I chose public health as my major because one of the things that I always knew I wanted to do is give back to communities and people. And while it might sound cliche, I've had personal experiences in my own life that have caused me to want to be able to give back to people and, put smiles back on people's faces who might not be having the easiest time medically or even challenged by other problems faced in public health research. And I also think it's the COVID-19 pandemic just highlighted the need for more research into public health and investment in that field.
For me, I chose biomedical engineering because in high school I always loved cell and molecular biology. I always found it really cool and I always wanted to work in medicine, but I never wanted to be a doctor. So for me, biomedical engineering allowed me to focus more on medical development and research rather than just directly treating patients.
Yeah, so I chose political science because I've always been interested in politics. And I've been knowing for a while that like I want to go to law school after college. So it seemed like the most obvious path. And so it's been really interesting to like conduct research in that area, even though I don't want a career in research, but it's still very a good opportunity to like learn new things and work with new people. And learn more about the field.
Great, thanks guys. Okay, and also I wanted to say if anyone wants to put questions in the chat, you're welcome to at this point. I'm gonna keep going down our list though. Um, did you conduct research projects in high school? And if you didn't, how did you know you wanted to pursue a career or conduct research in college?
So I never conducted any research in high school. But once I got to college, it's just a completely different ballgame, and you're presented with so many different resources and opportunities that are just not necessarily laid at your feet, but there are things that you can definitely go and get. And I had one professor who I just completely enjoyed the content, and that's what started getting me into research.
I also did not conduct research in high school. For me, I took IB in high school, and for our graduation, we're required to basically do a final project, like a research project, where we had to conduct our own experiment. And so the independence of just doing whatever I wanted, I really enjoyed the process, and I liked the fact that I was able to just let my curiosity get the better of me.
Yeah, in high school, I actually interned with a criminal defense lawyer, and he was working on a research project to look into the South Carolina grand jury system and kind of the corruptions that it has, and how it could be better. So I worked with him on a project related to that. Coming into college, I knew I wanted to like do some type of research, and like I think that there's so many opportunities that if you want to get involved in research, it's so easy. If you go out and look for it, you'll find an opportunity. And I just had a class where I really loved the professor, so I just reached out to her and I started working with her on her research project.
Great, thank you guys. What are some things students in this audience should think about when finding the right college program to apply to or enroll in if they're interested in research in college?
I think one of the important things is you really need to look at what the places you're applying to specialize in, because past the name of the school, every school is going to present you with different opportunities, and you want to make sure that the schools you are applying to kind of align with what you want to do, as certain schools specialize in certain areas more than others.
Great advice.
Yeah. adding on, oftentimes you can really easily see into like the research that different faculty and professors are doing at each school. So I highly recommend just like Googling a school and just looking at the faculty directory. And also a lot of the times if you're going to like a research focused schools, they often have like undergraduate research programs that are in place to help provide funding and stipends for those of lower income and then just in general so you can get paid when you do research.
Yeah, also, if you are looking through like professors and faculty in your university and you notice somebody that you would want to do research with, I would recommend highly to try and take one of their classes and so that they can get to know you on a more personal level and see how you work and how your work ethic is and them knowing that they'll be more likely to have you work on their research project with them.
Awesome. One more question on research in college. What has been the coolest thing you have researched or learned during your research projects?
One of my personal favorite during research has been researching the effects of air particulates and airborne chemicals on humans and the respiratory system. I just find it super fascinating just because it applies to everyone. Everyone breathes air, everyone is around pollution, whether you see it or not. And I think it's super important research, especially as climate change is becoming a bigger and bigger deal.
One of the coolest things that I learned was about oncologic like viral therapy, which is basically, in a very simple term, just like you're genetically changing a virus to target like cancer cells and using that to basically burst, basically you're training your immune system to attack cancer cells.
One of the coolest things I've learned is definitely how our grand jury system sometimes takes shortcuts in order to hear the maximum amount of cases in a day without actually hearing them. So a bunch of cases end up going to trial that don't need to be going to trial, and then they end up getting dismissed later, which wastes so much money and time and creates a lot of lag in our system, which is already very slow.
Awesome. Thank you guys. What advice do you have for students that might currently be going through the admissions process or will be in the next year or two? What advice do you have for them, maybe just on a general note?
My biggest advice is take it one step at a time. It's a super overwhelming process. There's so many steps involved through the application, through financial aid, through the essays. Um, but it's really important to kind of just break it down into simpler steps. If you take those small steps, they're going to add up a lot quicker than just trying to do it all at once or worrying about it all at the same time, because you're going to end up overwhelming yourself. So definitely take it one step at a time.
Yeah, definitely like adding on, just like keep it simple and just try not to overthink things because a lot of the times these things all do seem very complicated, but if you take it easy, just one thing at a time, you can easily break it down and it doesn't become that hard anymore.
Yeah, the biggest thing I would say is like make sure that when you're filling out your applications, when you're writing your essays, make sure that your personality is shown through in all of it and who you are and what you value and what you're passionate about. Like there should be a clear story that is being told to admissions counselors that they get an idea of exactly who you are through your application. And I think that's the biggest thing that's important to think about when you go through the process.
Great. Okay, I'm gonna open it up now to Q&A. So if you all want to put your questions in the chat or unmute yourself, that would be great. I see one question already came through. What advice do you have for kids who are undecided on what they want to do? It's a great question.
Um, I would say my biggest, I also was a little bit undecided going into college, and it's definitely something tough. But at the same time, you do not have to worry about being undecided, and I would not force yourself to try and like something. I think it's definitely a good time to explore opportunities. You know, if something interesting might come up, just go do it. You know, don't hesitate. Don't be worried about anything, because at the end of the day, even when you're in college, you do not have to pick your major until junior year. So it's not something you have to be too stressed about.
Yeah, you can always go undecided when you apply for college, but also if you are curious and trying to figure out what you are interested in, you can always just look at a college and just look through like their course catalog and just see which courses like speak out to you and just see if there's anything in particular that makes you like spark a little.
Yeah, going undecided is like totally normal. Like I know a lot of people that do that. And like try to take different types of classes and like different types of fields that interest you. Like see which one like um sparks the most interest when you take that class. Like if there's ever like any type of passion that you feel when you take different classes, like and maybe you have a better idea of what you want to do. But yeah, there's definitely no rush, and this is definitely like I wouldn't worry about it.
Great. Yep. And I'll add on to that. One of this is a little bit of a shameless plug, but we have seen a lot of students who are undecided, really work well with our mentors because they get to talk to undergraduate students who are there right now and can talk them through, this is what this class is like, this is what this professor is like, this is what this major is like. Oh, I hated this class. And you actually have the opportunity to talk to a few different mentors on the platform. So you can talk to as many as you would like. So that is something I would highly recommend for your student if they're stressed or anxious about not knowing what they want to do. This is a great resource. Um, you're welcome. So if I have multiple pre-existing research projects, how do I portray them in my application? Do I just focus on one or bring up specific parts of each? I'll kick this one off and then hand it off. It depends on how many activities you currently have and kind of the breadth and depth of your existing activities. You know, if you have 10 awesome activities and research can fit into one slot, we will be able to consolidate your 3 projects into one slot. If you think that then separately is going to be more powerful, then we can separate them to fill out that 10 activities section. It just kind of depends on the rest of your activities section and kind of where you want to highlight it in the rest of your application, including supplements. So I'll pass it off though. I'm sure my team has more to add.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Sophie said, and adding on, I think it's also important to talk about what you think is the most important, or most interesting to you, because often you're going to find that when doing these applications, the better applications are the ones where students are really interested and passionate in what they're doing. So you don't want to just add something that you're kind of doing it just because you're going to find a hard time like really going in depth and like making it interesting to someone else if you don't really have anything invested in it yourself.
Yeah, definitely building on. It also like depends on like whether or not like your research projects are closely related. I think if they are, it would be better just to like put them all as one. But if they are just genuinely so different, it would be better to demonstrate like the versatility and like how broad you are and like exploring what you want.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like the 10 activities section is basically like the 10 most impressive things that you did in high school. So, I mean, like if the research projects are like part of those 10, then like you could put them separately. But if you have like more things that you want to include, then we can focus more on those.
Awesome. Any other questions in the chat, or if you would like to unmute? My team is able to answer questions across the application process. So if you have essay questions, we can answer those. Questions about college life, planning that process, picking a school, anything in there, we're happy to help. If not, I can go back to asking some canned questions we have. Okay, I'll ask another one while we wait for another question. Let's see. I can't remember if I asked this or not, but what do high school students need to know about pursuing research in college? I don't believe I asked that.
I would say one of the most important things is being proactive about finding research. It's not just gonna come to you 99% of the time. It's going to maybe talk to a professor, going to talk to a graduate TA, kind of getting yourself out there, because more often than not, the people that are chosen for these research opportunities are the ones that the professors, the graduate students are most comfortable working with.
Yeah, and like don't be afraid of rejection, right? It's not always gonna work out, and oftentimes it's not because of you. It's usually just because the timing wasn't right.
Yeah, I think like the most important thing to know is like to not be afraid to like put yourself out there or to reach out to a professor. Um, like the way that you're going to get these opportunities is like by putting yourself out there and like asking for them. So don't be afraid to do that.
Awesome. I see another question in the chat. It says, do you have any advice on choosing a research topic?
Biggest advice is definitely do something that's meaningful and important to you. Because research is definitely tedious at times, and it's going to be hard to want to continue that research if you aren't interested in it at all. And also, you want to do research that kind of highlights what you want to do in college. And even if you're undecided, just do something that you're interested in.
Yeah, definitely do something that you're passionate about rather than something that you're doing just because you think you can write like a title that will sound really nice for your application. Because there's going to be ups and downs in your research. And if you're not passionate about it, the downs is going to make you really tired of your research sometimes.
Yeah, I completely agree. You should definitely choose a topic that you want to genuinely explore. And then once you find that, then you can look into what kinds of faculty at your school do those types of research and then go from there.
Great. Maybe we'll do one last question for me in case there's any other questions in the chat. Why did you all pick your school and how are you liking it so far? Kind of a fun one.
I would say one of the big reasons that I picked my school is I wanted to be decently close to home. And I'd heard a lot of good things about UMass. I'd kind of applied all over the place. And I went and toured everywhere. But UMass is one of those places where at first it wasn't really at the top of my list, but as I kept going through the application process, or I mean, just through the process of figuring out what school I want to go to, UMass really like called out my name. I mean, everyone, I have a decent amount of friends who had already gone there, and they had all great things to say about it. And every time I visited, it was just an amazing experience.
Yeah. For me, I really like BU's like tissue engineering program, which is what I hope to go into in the future. And I also took a look at their courses, which were, there was a lot of a hands-on approach. And so that was something that I really liked. I'm from New York, and so I wanted to be a part of the city, but I also wanted to be a part of a different city. And so for me, Boston was like the best option for me. And so far, I'm loving it here. I think there's despite being such a humongous community, you can easily find like friends and you can find somewhere where you can easily belong.
Yeah, I grew up in South Carolina and like I now go to University of South Carolina. Um, it wasn't definitely at the top of my list to begin with, but I honestly couldn't see myself anywhere else right now. It's like it it's a great opportunity for me, like being in the capital, since I want to do like law and politics. So there's a lot of opportunities here, which is one of the biggest reasons that I chose to come here. And every time I visited, it's just like felt right. So that's at the end what made my decision for me.
Awesome. Great. Okay, well, I will keep going then. And with this presentation, if there's any other questions in the chat, let us know. And I can pause and go back to questions. But a few of you had private messaged me during the Q&A section asking about what it costs to work with the mentors. So to sign up, it's completely free. It's also free to message them, so you can message them and chat with them. For our medium-sized package, it's about $60 a month, and that gets you one meeting with a mentor, plus a ton of other features, including a discount off essay submissions. We'll edit essays for you and return them. And then $240 a month is our premium package. It gives you 4 meetings a month with a mentor. We are giving a discount code, so if you're interested in signing your student up to work with a mentor or meet with them or even try it, you can use code Lumiere and that will get you the 15% off. And then this is our contact information. Our website is yourcollegecontact.com. We will share all of this with you after the call, most likely tomorrow in a follow-up email. But really appreciate everyone's time. Thank you to our mentors for being here. They're in the middle of exam season, so really appreciate them taking the time. And we look forward to hopefully chatting with you.
Thank you so much, Sophie and mentors Vidya, Jimmy, and Nick. Really appreciate you guys taking the time to speak to our students and parents. For all those who are here today, we will send out a follow-up email with a bit more information and contact info if you want to stay in touch with Sophie and her team. But other than that, thank you all so much and have a good rest of your night or day. Take care, everyone. Bye.